Good morning. I'd like to call this meeting of the Maricopa County Board of Adjustment for November 14, 2024. Rosalie, would you please do a roll call?
Chairman Loper,
Present.
Vice Chairperson, Member Cardin, Member Clapp,
Present.
Member Ward,
Present.
Chairman, we have a quorum.
Thank you. Good morning, Fern.
Good morning.
We'll move on to the announcements. A, this meeting has been noticed in accordance with the open meeting laws of ARS 38-431. Number 2, agendas are available within 24 hours of each meeting in the Maricopa County Planning and Development Office and are also available on the Planning and Development website 1 week prior to the hearing at www.maricopa.gov/planning. With respect to the hearing process, cases will be considered in the order they appear on the agenda unless otherwise agreed to by the board. And we are going to take an agenda item number 10 out of order. It'll be the first item after the withdrawn items are discussed. For each case, the applicant will be given a set amount of time to present their testimony, and that's 3 minutes for the applicant. Any witness wishing to give testimony on a particular case shall notify the board of such interest. This shall be done by filling out a speaker's card, which is this. If you're here in attendance and you wish to speak, grab a card from Rosalie and provide that to her, fill it out and provide that to her. Thank you. Or registering a desire to comment as noted on the published agenda. Also, at the appropriate time for each case, the chair will ask those attending in person and online who wish to speak to a case to raise their hand by clicking on that icon on the webinar screen. Staff will provide the chair with the names of persons who have registered and noted a desire to comment and those registered participants who have raised their hand. The chair will call on each named participant one at a time. Such testimony shall be limited to a maximum of 3 minutes. However, the actual amount of time allowed for testimony shall be at the discretion of the board chair. The chair will conduct the hybrid in-person and virtual public hearing according to the bylaws and according to the rules established by the chair regarding public comment. Votes will be done by roll call vote only, and the chair will verbally identify the specific members that are responsible for all motions and seconds. Move on to the approval of the minutes. Has everyone on the board had a chance to look at the minutes for October 17, 2024? And are there any comments or deletions or changes to that? Seeing none, those are considered to be approved. We'll move on to the items that are withdrawn from this agenda. Darren?
Pardon me, Mr. Chair, board members. Those are TU 240009, District 4, Jimenez Ranch, and BA. There's a tremendous amount of these being withdrawn today, isn't there?
I know, yes.
Yeah, BA 240009, Placencia residence in District 5, variance request. BA 240016, Bachmeyer property in District 4, variance request. BA 240017, Ramsey property, District 4, variance request. BA 24023, Weeks family home variance in District 3. And that concludes the items that are being withdrawn on this agenda.
Thank you. Thank you, Darren. Are there any questions on any of these? No questions. All right, move on to the agenda for hearing items, and we're going to take agenda item number 10 out of order and move you to the top of the agenda, TU 240011, and that is the Gamble Field dog shows. Darren, an issue's come to everyone's attention. Do you want to discuss that briefly?
We can, Mr. Chair. I would defer to County Council, who can speak to the matter more authoritatively.
By all means, his time to speak is limited. 2 minutes or 1 minute. You have 1 minute.
Chairman, I'm an attorney. I can't say hello in 1 minute. You know that. The question's been raised concerning access to the property. It was our understanding initially that there was an easement, but now we're told that there may or may not be an easement. There is a document that a title report makes reference to, but I haven't had a chance to review it. So there are two questions. The first is there actually an easement that allows access to the property? And the second is, what's the scope of that easement? All of these properties are residential. And if the scope of the easement is limited to residential, changing it to something that under our ordinance would be considered commercial can increase the intensity of that use. And it's possible the easement does not allow that. So at this time, I'm not sure the board has enough information about access to render a decision, which gives you either the option of continuing it or making a vote. And if it is approved, to make the approval conditioned upon proving that they have legal access, which will allow them to have ingress and egress to the property for what it is they're proposing to do. This is not a variance, so placing conditions does not create any issues as I see them. And I'll be happy to answer any questions, any of the
Thank
board
you. Are there
members
any
may have.
questions of Wayne at this point? All right, seeing none. Whether we continue it or take action, we do need to go ahead and open the public hearing though, correct? Give the applicant a chance to speak. This is
Well,
probably news to them.
Yes, because it's a specific issue, you can, but if you make a motion for continuance, the only proper addressing of that is whether a continuance should be granted or not. It wouldn't be on the merits of the application.
All right, thank you. Let me go ahead. This is a little unorthodox, but I'll go ahead and open the public hearing and ask the owner, T. Mark Graham, who I believe is in attendance, and or the applicant who is online. Nadia, I understand. Or who is here. If you could either come up to the podium, provide your name, and then I want to tell you a little bit about what's been discussed. And I know this is catching you off guard, caught us off guard too. Sometimes last minute things come up. Good. Go ahead and provide your name.
Hi, my name is Jane Pfeiffer. I am the applicant on this matter. I do also reside at 2511 South 331st Avenue in the Tonopah area here in Maricopa County. So I want to make sure that I have plenty of time later for my presentation and any rebuttal that's necessary. But to address the traffic and easement issue, does this catch me off guard? No, it doesn't. When we bought the property, we knew that the road situation was wonky. There is a declaration from 1994 that declares that line a road. There is not any easement in the title or in any of my neighbors' titles to that property because of the road declaration. However, in 1994, that declaration also authorized the county to do what they needed to do to acquire that land. There was a glitch, for lack of a better way of putting it. Some of the land was acquired and some of it was not. However, a road was put in, the original path of travel through that area was changed, and I do have the historical photos. Granted, I didn't load them online, so I know they can't really be shared with everybody, and I apologize for that. I do have them if you'd like to see them. But yeah, so there is a road-ish. And then we did talk with Maricopa County Department of Transportation last year for the temporary use permit that we had, and we got the road permit or the transportation special event permit through them. And then when the county reviewed the application for the special use permit, it was specifically listed that our segment is not a road. So I don't know what the answer is.
Understood. And I think, and I know we'd like our county attorney to speak on this real quick again, but I believe that given that there's a question on this, that I, as one of the board members, don't feel comfortable taking action until we know that there's legal access. It's kind of a stalwart or a requirement, if you will, of all of our zoning actions, not just temporary use permits, but variances and rezonings and other things that legal access is demonstrated for this. Wayne, did you want to go ahead and?
Yes, for the benefit of the board and also for the applicant, no road has been established. What happened in 1994 was that the Board of Supervisors established a county highway. Now, under the Arizona Constitution, there is a fund known as HERF, Highway User Revenue Fund. When you fill up your tank with gas, you pay gas tax. That, for example, goes into the HERF account. Trucks pay certain taxes in order to operate on state and county highways. That money goes into the HERF account. That money is then distributed by the Arizona Department of Transportation to various counties and cities. But that money is very limited as to how it can be used. It cannot, for instance, be used for maintenance until a road is accepted into the county maintenance system. So the first thing the Board of Supervisors does is establish an alignment as a county highway so they can use HERF money to go purchase the property rights. What the board needs to see is a property right either in the county, which we know doesn't exist, or that somebody who owned that land created an easement for the benefit of specific properties, maybe for the benefit of the public. But until we see those documents, we don't know that this property has any legal access at all.
Thank you. And would those documents be provided by the applicant or by McDOT or both?
Well, according to what Daniel told me, in the title report, they reference a document which can be obtained, but we haven't seen it yet. Obviously, the burden to prove access falls to the applicant. But as you know, our staff is incredibly diligent. So if the issue comes up, they will tend to research it because they have better familiarity with the tools they would need than the applicant. So to provide customer service, I think Daniel has indicated he can pull the document, but we're not ready with that today.
Okay,
May I interject one thing, sir?
certainly.
The Maricopa County Department of Transportation was this very morning watering and maintaining the road with a county grader. The entire length of it.
Okay, watering a road can be
And
just
grading it.
that can be for dust control purposes.
It-
They should not be out there maintaining it because it's not a primitive road and it's not within the county maintenance system. But it's not unusual for Maricopa County to go out in very dry conditions to try and mitigate dust, because as you know, the county has always had issues with the EPA concerning the particulates.
PM10. All right. That makes sense. One more comment, and then I'm going to,
I do understand what the county attorney is saying, but they would not bring a road grader out to resurface that road if it were not listed in the county road maintenance list.
understood, but I think that we need to look into the merits of, is
It's very
that just for
complicated.
dust control, as county attorney was saying? Is it something that just isn't documented well? And I apologize that this came up at the 11th hour. And as Wayne said, Maricopa County staff is extremely diligent. Things pop up at the last time. But I personally would be more comfortable if we continued this to our December hearing, to allow staff, and they may be able to resolve it this afternoon. I don't want to put that pressure on them. It may take more time, but that's kind of my inclination. With that said, and it is a public hearing and people did drive all the way down here, and I appreciate that. And also at the same time, I apologize for that. But is there anyone else in the audience who wishes to speak? I do have a card from, you're Kimberly, correct? From T. Mark Graham. Do you wish to speak or do you want to wait till the next hearing?
Yeah, the only thing I can speak on is what's already been said.
If you could come up and provide your name. And I know we have some folks online, correct?
So yeah, Mark Graham, I'm the property owner, partner with Jane here. Yeah, the road thing is an issue because like the road is 20 feet away from where it's supposed to be. It was a realignment of a dirt road, but county grades it every 6 weeks. It is I won't say a major thoroughfare because it's really rural, but Sheriff's Department patrols it. It's a 2-lane gravel road, county maintained. So the fact that somebody didn't do their paperwork 25 years ago shouldn't fall on us.
Well, unfortunately, as the property owner and needing to demonstrate that legal access, it does. You would be maybe not amazed, but I continually am that the amount of things that happened maybe in the past that didn't carry through the way they should have in the future. But thank you very much. Are there any questions of the speaker by any of the board members? Okay, those are only speaker request cards. Is there anyone else in the audience to speak on this request at this time? Do we have anyone online?
Chairman, I do have at least 2 people who have indicated a desire to speak. I don't know if they still want to at this point. I don't know if they want to raise their hand and indicate that. I know they wanted to speak after, the hearing, but if this is going to be continued, they may not have any comments.
Okay, I'll give them a moment to go ahead and raise their hands if you'll keep them on hold. And then I apologize, Kimberly, if you wish to speak, understanding where this is likely going. If you could just provide your name for the record, please. Oh, come up to the microphone, sorry.
Kimberly Lowry.
Go ahead.
Okay, I live at 2727 South 331st Avenue. Their property, the back half of their property, the only thing separating my property and theirs is a barbed wire fence. Prior to them moving in, there were people that had a sheep business there. Those people caused more issues and more dirt and everything than anyone else. Since they've moved in, I've not had an issue. They water the roads when things happen. My understanding is, and I can vouch because they were doing it as I was leaving. They grade those roads on a consistent basis and water them, the county does. Now, when you get to where 331st and Lower Buckeye meet, they only go north of Lower Buckeye. They never go south.
Okay.
So that is maintained regularly. And if there's a problem with, my understanding is, and I don't know a lot about this, but that I guess I basically could kind of say, hey, block the road from any traffic because we've never given up any part of it for anything. I have no desire to do that. I have no issues with people coming by. They water the roads whenever they're going to have people come, and they don't leave trash. I don't have an issue.
All right. Thank you. Are there any questions or comments to the speaker? All right, seeing none. Thank you very much. Go ahead, Darren.
Mr. Chairman, is this person representing the property between the subject property and the county roadway? No, is this property owner representing the property that the alleged easement crosses between the subject property and the county maintained roadway?
She's nodding her head yes. So if you could get your contact info, I know you have an email address on here. If you could provide your phone number
Okay.
to this card, and this goes back to Rosalie, staff may want to speak with you about any information you have that help clear this up. Here's both those cards. Thank you very much. Appreciate your time. Again, sorry you had to come down here. It was a last minute item for all of us.
Thank you for allowing me to have a voice.
Of course. And should you not make it the next one, the record will note that you did speak in favor of this. Nadia, David, do we have our speakers
Sure.
online that wish to speak?
Chairman, I have one speaker. I believe she still wishes to speak. Lissa Alverson. Lissa, you need to unmute on your side on the software. There you go. You should be able to speak now.
Okay. Um, I, I will address to the Kimberly thing. If you look in your records from the last, Kimberly and also Julia Pena next door did oppose them up until just a couple weeks ago. The road that goes in front of their houses, I'm the house directly to the north of Gamble Field. So the traffic turns in at my fence line and goes down. The last two events that they've had, I believe, without permits in this last 2 months, they did get out their water truck to help Kim and Julia, the two neighbors next door, and watered right in front of their houses for the dust. But there's over 2 miles that people need to travel to get to this place. I obviously have a whole lot more to say, but if it's going to be postponed until December, I would step back and make my points then. I did mail in plenty of information and aerial views and stuff for you guys to look at. Hopefully you guys had a chance to look all that over already.
We did. Thank you very much. That was provided to us.
Okay, yeah, so if there's going to be continued until December, I'd be more than happy just to speak on more detailed matters at that point.
All right, thank you. Does staff have a question of the speaker or just a comment in general?
Yeah, can I recommend that you take another item and leave this one to come back to? The reason is we're trying to discover if, I'm sorry, I didn't hear the whole name, but Kimberly has property that she could grant them an easement. And if she's willing to do that, then you could hear the case. And if you decide to go forward, make that a stipulation before the permit becomes effective. But rather than try and do this on the fly, maybe the board wants to consider another application and then come back to this.
We could take up this discussion at the end of the agenda like was originally done.
You can do whenever you
Um,
want. Yeah.
I would want to make sure the last speaker that was online was Suzanne. Did you catch that? We actually may take action. So if you wouldn't mind, you and the other person online, if you could hold on, we're rapidly trying to investigate an issue with the easement. No?
No, the young lady owns a portion of the road, but there's an intervening lot. And unless the owners were here to commit to giving an easement, we still have the question, is there any kind of property right that allows,
What's the name of that owner? The intervening one?
actually,
This one is Julia Pena
Julia Pena
and then
and
She
Richard
online?
Berenger.
She's online, Wayne.
There are two properties,
and
actually.
Mark Graham. There's three.
Well, Mark is here.
Oh, okay.
So there are two. There's Julia and Richard.
There's two, and so
Two
we have,
intervening properties.
one's online and one's here. So that we technically
one.
could have, or there's three. There's three property owners.
Because it's never easy.
No, of course not. This is how sausage is made, folks. With that said, do we have anyone else online? We have one of the property owners. Does that person wish to speak? Do we have anyone else who wishes to speak online? Okay.
I did have now I'm getting more hands. I've got 3 other people online who have some level indicated a desire to speak, depending on what you're doing with the case, I believe.
Well, we've opened up the case without really discussing the temporary use permit.
You want staff to give a presentation?
Let's go ahead and have the 3 people speak and then we'll come back.
Okay, so I had Jason Alverson raise his hand next. Jason, if you unmute on your side.
Thanks, Jason.
then-
Stand. Give
Go
your
ahead,
name
Jason.
and you're limited to 3 minutes.
My name is Jason Alverson. I live just to the north of Gamble Field. I have a number of items to address, but I will defer until the next meeting if this is not going to happen today. I just want to let you know that.
Jason, it looks like it's not going to happen today, but if you could hold on till the end of the discussion, we don't know the context for all the speakers. And we're looking to see if we have 3 that may represent the intervening properties that are online, if they do. But anyway, just hold on till we actually take action, because I can't guarantee which way this will go. But
Yes,
thank you
sir.
very
Thank you.
much. Next,
John Burnett also raised his hand. John, you need to unmute on your side. John raised his hand, but he needs to unmute the microphone so that we can hear him. Um,
move on
Not
to
sure
the
what to
next
do
one.
there. He obviously can click the button, but not the right one. He needs to click the microphone button, not the raise hand button. There you go, John.
Are you guys there?
Yep, we can hear you.
Okay, I can barely hear you guys. Am I on?
Go ahead, provide your name for the record and then your presentation or comments.
I can't hear you very well, so I think I'm gonna have to postpone. But my name is John Burnett. I'm Julia Pena's dad. But I
And are
can't
you
hear
in,
you guys, so I'm gonna have to join another time.
okay, real quick, are you able to indicate your support or opposition for the request?
Sorry, he just dropped off,
Okay,
Chairman.
okay.
But I do also have Julia Pena on. Julia had indicated that she may want to speak. Julia, I have unmuted you. There you go.
Yes, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can. If you could provide your name for the record and go ahead with your comments.
Yes, my name is Julia Pena, and I am with Jane and Mark. I agree with whatever is going on with the road situation. I believe my road is part of what one of the issues had to do with whatever you guys were just speaking about. But I did have comments about something else, but that was going to be postponed till December, so then I can come back on and then we can take care of those issues then.
All right,
Mr.
thank you.
Chairman,
Go ahead.
you may want to ask the citizen, in the event there is no legal property right to the road, would she be willing to grant an easement to the applicant property, an easement across her property to create a property right for them to have access?
Did you catch that? It was Julia, correct?
Yes, yes, absolutely.
You would be in favor of providing that?
Yes.
Okay, so we have 2 of 3. All right, do we have anyone else online? All right.
Yeah, and there's no one else.
Okay, thank you very much. I'm going to go ahead and close the public hearing, turn it over to the board members for comment and or a motion. This is in district. Why am I missing the number here? District 4, that's my district. I'm in favor of continuance, but I will defer to other board members for a motion and or a second. Member Ward.
Can I just ask, are we not, out of 2 out of 3, are we not waiting a little while to see what information comes back to us?
That's kind of what I'm thinking, but I'm one voice. But I'd like to see, go ahead.
I'm sorry, they have 2 shows scheduled for November, which is before we come back.
Mr. Chairman.
Yeah, one moment, Fern. Go ahead, Darren.
Mr. Chairman, board members, I believe if you want to hear this case and you consider it worthy of your approval, that you can add a condition to the temporary use permit that they obtain approval that each intervening property owner provide a recorded easement across their property for all for the commercial access.
Or they demonstrate that the one that they're talking about is sufficient.
Yes.
Okay. Then, Fern, I don't know if based on that, did you catch that?
I did, and based on that, may I make that motion, Mr. Chairman?
Well, potentially, we're just going to go ahead and hear the item. Is that your preference, or do you think this should be continued?
I would like to hear it, only because of they have 2 shows scheduled this month.
Understood. Is that your feeling too, Member Clapp? Okay, so again, unorthodox, but we'll go ahead and hear this item. If Daniel, if you want to go with your presentation, and then we'll come back to the applicant.
Thank you, Chairman, members of the board. The request is a dog show and dog running events, temporary use permit for such professional dog shows like AKC, UKC, and Mosler groups. The site is located at 2511 South 331st Avenue in the Tonopah area. It's 19 gross acres and is zoned rural 43. The proposed events will fall on the following dates in the future: November 23rd, November 30th, December 14th, 15th, and in the new year, January 18th through the 20th, February 7th through the 9th, February 22nd and 23rd, March 8th and March 9th, and March 14th through the 16th, and March 29th to the 30th. Some of these dates will be considered, we'll be holding a small family gatherings, although small family gatherings aren't required to have a temporary use permit. However, the majority of the dates would be for the dog shows. There was a recent code violation that's under investigation pending a drainage inquiry for the site, but as far as that, that's still under investigation, and staff has no knowledge if the events proposed on October 26, 27, and November 2nd, 3rd were held prior to the determination by the Board of Adjustment. At this time, I'll be happy to answer any questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Daniel, are there particular conditions or stipulations of approval that staff is proposing for this, if it was approved?
Yes, Chair, there's going to be conditions of approval from A through Q.
Thank you. You don't have to read them off.
In addition to the granting of the access.
An additional Q.
There would have to be an additional condition of approval for establishing access for the property.
Thank you. So that'd be condition R.
Correct.
Shows you my intelligence. I had to sing through the alphabet to figure out the next letter after Q. All right. Well, thank you very much. Are there any questions of staff at this time? All right. Seeing none, I'm going to reopen the public hearing. The applicant, if you could come up and provide your name again for the record. And I have to apologize to the folks from the Sheriff's Department that are here. This is twice I've promised them or committed to a quick meeting, and they have to stand this whole time. So keep that in mind. Go ahead.
Thank you. My name is Jane Pfeiffer, and I am the applicant, and I will try to be brief. I'd like to reserve a large portion of time for rebuttal if it becomes necessary. We did put together a presentation. If you could go to the next slide, please. So this is a general outlook of a sunrise on our property. Next slide. The Gamble quail do use this property as a nesting grounds. Next slide. And you have hundreds of them. Keep going. They just love it out there. So we are in a rural zoning district, not a residential zoning district. The difference between the Chapter 5 and the Chapter 6 does matter. Next slide, please. So this is a zoomed in view, and there is a star on our property. The property behind us is technically state trust land, even though it is in the rural zoned area as well. And then the lighter shading is the large lot, rural residential. Next slide. So under the county zoning ordinances, having the under Chapter 5, which is where we fit, and the RU 43 being under the rural zoning, it is for rural, agricultural, and open use methods, the open use things. And that is what we're trying to do. The Chapter 6, which is the single family residential, that is not what's at play in this particular situation. Next slide, please. And so this one, under the 1302.2, were the temporary events. So we are requesting less than 30 days in a 6-month period. Several of the dates that were on the application were dates that we were reserving that we did not actually have anything planned yet. The goal was to hopefully maybe have a Halloween party or maybe have a Thanksgiving gathering. But because we are still in the permit process, nothing has been planned for a great many of those dates. Because we are in the rural zone, the temporary use permit, according to 302.4, it says that it shall be permitted. And so that's what we would ask for. As far as the easement issue, yeah, that's wonky. And I don't have a better answer. Other than, Kimberly has written a statement giving us access until we can get it resolved, if that helps. And then Ms. Burnett on the phone gave us access as well, so. And then I have tons of pictures showing the general area where, so the next slide, please. So the lines, the blue line shows the distance where events are held from the neighbor to the north and their home. The red line is the Pena residents to the south, and the purple line is the residents for the Lowrys. And the general area where we hold these events is that southeast corner, or sometimes the entire eastern half of the property. Next slide, please. So most of the events are held on the east half because of the proximity to the proposed parking area. It's where we have shade trees. It is cooler back there. It gives privacy, and the impact on the neighbors is less. And the next several slides are the views of the property from different directions. And so this one is from the corner where we meet up with the Pena property, looking out across the field. This is the impact of a dog event. Next slide. Again, from the same area, looking further across to the north of the property. Next slide. If you are standing directly in the middle of the field, this is what you see on the east end. Next slide. This is a hyper zoomed in, showing across both the small field that we have, as well as the gates and the fences to get out to the field. Next slide. And so if you're standing up near our house, which is an elevated area of the property, and you zoom in, you can see events in the far end. Next slide. So generally the flow of traffic for larger events is single direction, going all the way around the end of the field. The entryway does, it is well within our property. However, it does border the neighbors to the north, and there are 2 occupied neighbors to the north. There is the Alverson property directly at that northwest corner, and then there is the Beebe family, which is kind of in the middle. Next slide. So this is what parking generally looks like back there. Next slide. And we do have other activities that we do. So this is in the small field, and this is a doggy play date. Next slide. And we have people who come and picnic. Next slide. And so this is lure coursing. Lure coursing is where there are 3 dogs running after a lure at a time. Keep going. And then, because I do want to save some of my time, many of the other photos that are in this presentation are just general photos of use of the property, but I do want to be able to reserve some of my time for rebuttal if necessary.
All right, thank you. Are there any questions of the applicant at this time by any of the board members? I do have 2 questions for staff. Not you, but hold tight, we might have more. Has a special use permit been submitted for this long-term?
They are, Chairman, they're currently in the process with a pre-application meeting.
Okay. And then the second one is family gatherings. We don't require a permit. Okay, that's what I thought.
Correct.
Okay. It's just if it's an advertised event or they're taking something in. Okay. All right. Well, thank you very much. Is there anyone else in the audience who wishes to speak again at this time? I turned it back the speaker request card. So the 2 folks who spoke before, are you good? Do we have anyone online who wishes to speak again, or anyone new? Okay, let me go ahead and close. Oh, yes, go ahead.
I believe the Alversons wanted to speak. Allison just raised her hand. I'm unmute. Alyssa, sorry. Alyssa just raised her hand. I have unmuted her so she can speak. She needs to unmute on her side there.
No problem with that.
Sorry, we have to be on 2 devices. Okay. The last pictures where they are showing their events on
Excuse
the,
me, could you please provide your name for the record and then
oh,
continue?
yes, sir. Alyssa Alverson. I own the property directly to the north. As you see, their front driveway goes right past my place and their first dog pen, and then a little past that. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Oh, okay. All right. So the last event they just had, I don't believe they had their permits for, as the guy was just saying previous before we started. They had the 2 just recently, but that last event is their pictures where they so graciously did do their dog show all the way to the east. That was absolutely wonderful. I don't have a problem with that. I'm gonna go ahead and move forward because you guys did say you saw the packet. So the constant attacks by Gamblefield, Mark, and Jane are unwarranted and weigh heavy on our hearts and homes. Even so, there's still not one post from us bad-mouthing anyone. It just seems to be another one of their money-making schemes. And as you can see by their GoFundMe, it's very much profiting them. Hopefully they use that money to good, maybe build a wall. But we've lived peacefully in our home for 13 years. And now we're being attacked daily by a business that's moved in next door from Surprise that wants to turn our quiet neighborhood into a busy recreational area. It's already really hard on our pets and our peace of mind with the events that they have on a regular basis. And these are large events where they do collect money at the gate. So I can't imagine this becoming an even bigger venue right next to our place. So, it's really hard to make plans to get away from our home on the weekends because you never know when there's just going to be a large group of people or dogs right along our fence line. And between our yard is just a 4-foot goat fencing. So it doesn't prohibit the dogs from antagonizing our dogs or our peace of mind over here. And it definitely doesn't, it wasn't intended to keep out prying eyes of an event center. So, I don't understand why they hold 90%, which is the reality of their events along our fence line. I sent you a couple pictures of the reality of the events. They've got 19 acres. They could have easily put these events on the back like those pictures they just showed you. That would have been wonderful. And that would have been really respectful to the surrounding homes. It only would have made sense according to the aerial map, but it's just not the case. And then, Gamblefield doesn't contribute anything to our neighborhood. They cater mostly to dog shows from out of town and out of state. So the excess dust during these events is unbelievable. So like I was saying, the last 2 events, and as Kim said, they did run a water truck in front of Kim's house, Julia's house, and Richard's house, and their house. They didn't bother to go down the fence line where all the traffic, like they showed you on their in and out on their picture that goes along our whole fence line and all the parking. They didn't bother watering any of that. So it's just crazy. And there are 2 miles before you get to Gamble Field of dirt road. So it's got to be hard on everybody else as it is on us to have the extra traffic and the dust in the air. We're definitely not trying to be unreasonable. We're just trying to protect the integrity of our home and the safety of our family. So I hope you all understand, and I really appreciate your time.
Thank you very much. Are there any questions of the speaker? I do have a couple of questions related to her comments more directed towards staff. So it would seem to me, and the applicant have a chance to address this, that the access solely along the north, I personally wouldn't like that. And it seems like if there's sufficient property for that access to be moved to a different location, more internal, more interior to the property, and for some kind of a buffer to be established along the north. I don't believe that the temporary use permit is the correct vehicle to put all that in, But I would hope as the special use permit goes forward, that those are some things that are considered. If I were a property owner, whether I was your best friend or not, I'd still wouldn't want all those vehicles traveling past my property, and there is sufficient area. So I'm just throwing that out there. Not an item necessarily for our consideration, but I do sympathize with that from the Alversons' point of view. Thank you again very much for your comments. Do we have anyone else online?
I also have, well, Jason, but I also have Julia Pena, who raised her hand first. I think she would like to follow up.
Yeah, go
Julia,
ahead,
go ahead.
Pena.
Okay, can you hear me? This is Julia Pena.
Yes.
Okay, I've been a neighbor of Jane and Mark's now for almost 3 years. We love where we live. We love the privacy, the freedom to do like what we want, respectfully, obviously. I After educating myself and realizing like what kind of neighbors that they are and having them, they're great neighbors. They help us with a lot of things in need. They actually bring over grass clippings or Bermuda for my livestock, and so my fence for my livestock backs up to theirs, and their events with the dogs, it is on that southeast corner. So I do get like I see more, I think, than maybe other neighbors at some points, but they don't bother us at all. The dogs don't bother. They do their thing. um I don't think they're trying to incorporate a huge business. I think they just want to bring the community together. I don't see anything wrong. It's not really hurting anyone. And just in my opinion, I guess, others feel different, and that's okay. There's not hundreds of cars. I would say there's a good amount of cars, but there's not hundreds of cars. I have cameras in front of my house so I can see motion and who comes through. And most of their company, if not all of them, they do drive fairly slow. So the dust really isn't that big of an issue, compared to we have a lot of people that come in and out to the river bottom and stuff, and that to go off-roading, and that dust is out of control. But I wouldn't say that their people are. They drive respectful. I'm just speaking on behalf of my husband and I just want to say we enjoy having them as neighbors. I don't see an issue with what they're doing. They're not hurting us or anyone. So I don't really have a complaint. I just wanted to put that out there, just how I feel.
Thank you very much. Are there any questions of the speaker? Seeing none, do we have one more online?
Yeah, Chairman, I have Jason Alverson. Jason, you need to unmute on your side. There you go.
Hello, I'm Jason Alverson, the neighbor just to the north. I'd like to thank you all for your time to address our concerns and requests of the temporary use permit. We're grateful for this process as it provides not only opportunity to be heard through the ears of reason and where we're given a voice on the matters at hand. Without it, we would have no avenue or recourse to work out any sort of stoppage or compromise, because they just refuse to work with us on things. I'd like to start my comments today by pointing out that we have not and do not say anything publicly or privately regarding this temporary use permit or about Gamble Field. We kept our comments and concerns solely within the parameters of the permit process. However, since we've submitted our letter opposing Gamble Field and conducting their large-scale events next door, and basically right outside of the front door of our residence, we have been publicly ridiculed by the owners of Gamble Field, Mark and Jane, in posts on pages and forums, public and private, some of which we have sent you copies of. Also, Mark, one of the owners of Gamble Field, has been video recording our underage son, has been caught doing so multiple times. He's been filming him not only driving past their place, but also while he's working on his bike on our front porch. The comments and actions of Gamble Field are that of harassment, slander, and attempts at intimidation. These are in addition to the constant invasion of our privacy with these events and event goers. They've made a makeshift dirt parking lot that people traverse for days at a time in the very front of their property, kicking excess dirt up into the air. We've been in this community for 20 years. Our homes in the surrounding neighborhood are all on dirt roads. We understand that there will be a normal amount of dust kicked up from local traffic. That's not a problem. Where the problem lies is that in the abnormal influx of the additional and continuous flow of cars and campers attending these events that cause a high dust nuisance for the whole neighborhood as the event goers go in and out before, during, and at the close of these events. Mark himself is well known in the area for his bouts of yelling at regular passersby for the average and normal dust that's kicked up by people who live in the neighborhood. In one such incident, Mark threw something at a car, which there was an exchange of gunfire thereafter. The person returned fire from the road in front of our house where the sheriff found bullet casings. Privacy as a property owner is one of our concerns, but so is safety for our family. By his own admission in one of Mark's posts, this is in one of the samples that we sent to you, he brags about, quote, filling a Dodge Magnum full of holes, end quote. In that same comment, he has a picture from a drone of Gamble Field that says how his friend is a proficient drone operator. He states that, quote, the Karens, referring to us, live in the trash field yard in the bottom corner, then goes on to say that we will be documenting their dump to establish what kind of trash we're dealing with. Needless to say, we have had drones flying over our heads on our property, where the operator was doing so from Gamble Field with Mark standing next to him. These actions are a direct violation of SB 1449, signed into law by Governor Ducey on March of 2020, and also federal drone laws. We also sent you photos of where they have been piling dirt against our fence, blocking the natural flow of water. This has caused excess flooding of our property and in turn erosion in the front corner of our lot. The water has uprooted shrubs that we had planted to block off direct sight to our lot as well. They have many acres that stretch way past our house, but continue to throw events in the area nearest to our home. These events have campers running generators all day and night, not to mention the constant barking of dogs that breaks up the peaceful serenity that we once enjoyed when we moved out here to the country 20 years ago. They stack large number of portable outhouses towards the front of the property, visible from the street. These are often blown over during windstorms and lie on the ground for days, leaking chemicals into the ground, which is above the aquifer that we get our drinking water from. There are light towers used during some of the events which shine into our yard and windows. In their attacks posts to garner sympathy for their cause, they always claim that they're just trying to do something for the community. These are not community events. These are national events, and the attendees are all from cities all around Arizona, as well as from outside of our state. The ironic part of this situation is that 3 years just before they moved here, Mark and Jane were involved in another dispute at their old residence in Surprise, where their property rights and privacy were being jeopardized by a home builder business. On April 15, 2021, at a City of Surprise Planning and Zoning Commission meeting, Jane's public comments documented that she expressed concerns and offered comments with regard to the effect on the roadways, potential increase in traffic, impacts on the surrounding area, transition and general use of the area, preservation of natural characteristics, air quality, and aquifer. Mark's public comments were that he expressed concern and offered comments.
Mr. Albertson?
Yeah, I got
If
two
you
more
could-
lines and that's it.
Okay, yeah, and keep it germane to this location, please. 30 more seconds.
Okay. Well, the concerns that he expressed were the impact of the existence on the way of life for people living in the neighborhoods. So as it turns out, as it turns out, we're fighting them for the same kind of, they're fighting for the same kind of things that are currently going on in our community from them. One would think that they would remember how bad the situation was for them and not to try to put that heartache on anyone else.
All right, thank you. Are there any questions of Mr. Albertson by any of the board members? All right, thank you very much for your comments, sir. Do we have anyone else online? Okay. I'll go ahead and close the public hearing. Yes. Oh, that's right. Go ahead and come up. You have,
I'd like at least as much time to rebut his.
you have 2 minutes. 2 minutes. If you could please start a timer.
90% of what the Albertson said.
This is not about attacking neighbors. Keep it to the issue at hand, which is a temporary use permit.
Second to last video or screen on the thing. I want to show JD Albertson playing.
Again, this is about the temporary use permit,
It
not
is,
about
but
a
the
neighborhood
complainant
dispute.
Against the temporary use permit, there is a personal thing going on. He was an active participant until we no longer desired his
It's not
services.
germane to the temporary use permit.
The dirt is a lie. The only dust problem we have is his hooligan son doing donuts on it in order to create enough dust to choke us out while screaming obscenities out the window. We've reduced that by recording him for law enforcement reference. The diverting the water, that dam, that dike is something they helped us build or restore. It had been there for 20-something years, and that is where the water flow thing is an issue, because really they dammed the water and cause it to flow onto our property. It's like the traffic comes from the south. It doesn't come past their house because the south is a paved road. Everyone prefers the paved road before it turns into the dirt road. We don't put any dust in front of their property because the traffic comes from the south and never passes their property. Everything he has said is a lie or a contortion of the truth that you really have to.
Is that the end of your comments?
Yeah, it's hard to respond to 25 lies.
Again, this is about a temporary use permit, not about neighbor issues between neighbors, but thank you very much. Applicant, you have 2 minutes for a response, and please keep it related to the temporary use permit, not issues with the neighbors.
Yes, sir, absolutely, thank you. Okay, if we can advance the slides, please. Okay, so the picnic, keep going. The lure coursing, keep going. So this is a typical dog ring setup. This is at the far east end of the property, back next to the parking lot. It is nowhere near the neighboring property. In fact, the closest neighbor is Miss Kim Lowry, and that area of her property is infrequently used, so it causes no distress to them, in my opinion. Keep going, next slide. So again, these are the events, examples of events. You can see the large trees in the background. Those large trees are at the east end of the property. Keep going. And again, now this one is a little bit different. This one was a group of folks in the neighborhood who had a horse parade, and it was not actually an event held on our property. The horses did come in. We did provide troughs of water. They played music for 10 minutes and then they left. But it was kind of cool to get pictures on the property. Next slide, please. So, and again, we've also used the property to have photographs taken for different folks doing, like this one was for a pre-quinceañera portrait. Next slide. And this one was an Easter egg hunt that we held 2 years ago. It is in the small field, so it is on the western edge of the property, but there was very little noise from that. We do understand the Alversons' concern with events being held in that portion, and we will ensure that no other events are held up in that small field. Although I do feel that a restriction on the use of our property is unwarranted. Next slide.
If you could, 30 more seconds, please.
Next slide. And so this is, again, the east end of the property, setting up for a family event. East slide, next slide. And this is what the family event looked like at night. Again, the light towers were not obtrusive. Next slide. So again, this is like a vendor row setup for different events. Next slide. This is a concert that we did. Next slide, please. And keep going. And keep going. And so this is Mr. Alverson playing at one of our events. Next slide. So these are Facebook comments that the Alversons have made against us in other posts.
Are they germane to the temporary use permit?
They are advocating that no further events occur and our response. Next slide, please. Next slide. And keep going. So this is to address where the porta potties are kept during events and during non-event use. The porta potties are more than 200 feet away from the Alverson home, and we have moved them to where the red line is. So now they are quite a distance away, and they're actually closer to the neighbor to the other side. Next slide. And this is this is the driveway along that north edge that you were concerned about. We do have the privacy screening along both fences, and you'll see that it is their dog that is attempting to join the fun. It's a very well-behaved dog for the most part, but the dog does wish to come over. And the next slide, please. I think that's all. Yep, that is all. Any questions that you have for me, I'd be happy to answer.
Thank you. Are there any questions of the applicant? All right, thank you very much. Appreciate your time and presentation. We go ahead and close the public hearing and turn it over to the board members for discussion and possible motion. Again, this is in District 4, which is my district. I'm going to make a couple of comments and turn it over to the board members. Number one, I'm a huge private property rights person, huge. However, that doesn't give me the right to infringe on somebody else's rights and use of their property. Also, I'm a huge gun owner and gun lover. Firing next to a residence, somebody else's residence, is irresponsible, number one, and number two, I'm not positive, but I believe it's illegal or within so many feet of a public roadway. That's that whole other issue. So I just throw that out there. But with that said, I would hope that the property owners could find some way to try to become friendly to each other, because I hate to see neighbors who both have a vested interest in their own properties continue to fight publicly and quite nastily, if you will. Can't say that I always have said the best things about everybody, but to publish some of this is sad to me. And I hope that that can be rectified over time. The property owner of the subject temporary use permit, you have a responsibility. This is a major event. The pictures you showed did not demonstrate some little mom and pop family operation. You might call them a family operation. When you have a stage with amplified music and you had dozens of cars and lots of people and animals and things, that to me is a major event. But please, no more. The operational characteristics of that really aren't going to be discussed today. I am in favor of the temporary use permit only because it gives the operator an opportunity to demonstrate that they can go forward, make things legal with the county, and demonstrate that they can work with their neighbors on improving the conditions. There's a whole other process with the special use permit where things like setbacks and screening and access can be addressed. And I hope that the comments that have been brought up here are taken in consideration of that. With that said, I'll turn it over to the other board members, but I am in favor of the temporary use permit, given the conditions as outlined by staff A through R, which includes the easement issue as condition R.
Is that a motion?
It is not a motion, but go ahead. I can make it a motion.
Why don't you just make a motion?
It's a motion to approve, subject to those conditions A through R of temporary use permit TU 240011.
I'd like to make a comment.
Go, can I get a second first?
I'll make a second and then a comment.
I have a motion by myself and a second by member Clapp. Go ahead.
And I agree with the comments you just made, that this is important. This is a temporary use permit, where you can demonstrate how this operation will run over the course of the next few months, because if the county is looking at a special use permit, all these items that are going to occur between now and then are going to be taken into consideration. So, I think this is a good test time for it. So that's the reason why I agree with and second this motion, and just want to emphasize that condition R was added, which relates to establishing access to the property.
Go ahead, Darren.
If I may, just for the record, condition R would read.
Good. You're going to tell us the language for R?
Yes, ma'am. For the record, condition R would read, prior to hosting any event on site under the temporary use permit, the applicant shall provide documentation that existing easements provide for commercial access, or shall provide copy of recorded instrument providing commercial access.
Applicant, did you catch that? And you agree with that?
Yes.
We have an affirmative nod by the applicant.
And
Go ahead,
I
member Clapp.
agree as a seconder to the language.
Okay, good. Thank you. That was my next question. Anything from you, member Ward? All right, I'll call for the question. Rosalie, if you could please take roll call.
Member Ward,
Yes.
Member Clapp,
Yes.
Chairman Loper.
Yes.
Chairman, we have a motion for an approval by a vote of 3-0.
Thank you. Best of luck to you. I hope all of you can arrive at a happy conclusion to this. Move back to the regular agenda. We have a code compliance review, V 2024-01236 in District 1. Darren?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, board members, V 2024-01236 is a violation for construction without benefit of permits, clearances, and/or construction beyond the scope of such permits, clearances for property at 13433 East Chandler Boulevard in the Chandler area of District 1. This case was opened May 30th of this year due to ongoing complaints from the property owner. Staff conducted an inspection of the site and verified the violations. A notice in order to comply was sent to the respondent, who is the property owner. A review of records found that no permits have been applied for to address those identified items. A hearing was scheduled for September 10th, 2024. A summons was sent. The respondent appeared in person. Also in attendance was a representative for the tenant. The hearing officer found the respondent responsible and ordered noncompliance penalties. The initial noncompliance penalty has been paid. There are daily noncompliance penalties occurring. Respondent has appealed, the respondent, who is the property owner, has appealed for code enforcement review. He argues that there are significant safety issues that must be addressed and that not were addressed during the investigation. I'll note that the hearing officer made a finding of fact and reached his conclusion pursuant to section 1502 of the county zoning ordinance and pursuant to article 1504.3.2 of the ordinance. The board may either affirm the hearing officer's order of judgment or remand it back to the hearing officer due to a finding of a procedural error. Staff does not see a procedural error, and if there was one, we would simply just take the matter back to the hearing officer. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you very much. Darren, real quick, and I asked this for every time we have a code compliance. Our role, our purview does not allow us to discuss the merits of the violation, just whether or not there is a procedural issue.
Mr. Chairman, that is correct. And what staff identified as unpermitted construction was a change to a protruding wall-mounted sign, additional HVAC equipment installed, and the door on the south plane of the building was expanded so that it's dual pane window beside it rather than just a single door. All that could obtain a permit. We do not view those as life safety issues. The applicant has other concerns with this building, much of it being in other tenant space that's vacant. But again, that is beyond what's before you today, which is just the matter on the violation case on record at the hearing officer. And of course, as council has reminded me, these violations were admitted.
All right, thank you. Are there any other questions or comments to Darren or other staff at this time? All right, go ahead and open the public hearing. Is the appellant or representative present and wish to speak on this case? I take it that's not you
I
out in
believe
the audience?
I believe he's online.
Or do we have him online, him or her?
No.
We're not, but do we know that notice was provided to them? Has there been any communication that they're aware?
There has, sir, but we would not object if you want to continue this for 1 month.
Yeah, I think historically we've done that. So let's to entertain a motion to continue to the next meeting.
So move.
Motion by member Clapp to continue, a second by member Ward. Rosalie?
Member Ward,
Yes.
Member Clapp,
Yes.
Chairman Loper.
Yes.
Chairman, we have a motion to continue by a vote of 3-0.
Thank you very much. Moving on to the regular agenda, it'll after a bit. BA 240008 E2S Properties Arizona LLC variances, and this is in District 3. Go ahead, Martin. Good to see you. We've been talking
That's
about
correct.
you without you here.
Thank you very much. All right, thank you. All right, so good morning, members of the board. This is case BA 24008, E2S Properties AZ LLC. Next slide, please. The property is located on a site that's classified as hillside with 15% slopes or greater. The applicant proposes to develop in an area of the lot that was graded before the county's hillside ordinance came into effect. Change the slides. I think it's on one of the slides that shows that a lot better. The flat area of the lot. One more. One more. I think the next one, the last one. I'm so sorry. Okay, it's the very last one. I know it's here. All right, so I have this home site here along the access easement along the northern line that's already had some grading that came into effect for the county's hillside ordinance. This portion was deemed as legal nonconforming back in 2004. The applicant believes that this area of the lot is appropriate to place and develop the new home because it would create the least impact on the natural environment of the lot and is proximate to the access easement that's along the east property line. Okay, so if you can go back to the slide that showed the site plan, it was next one. Next one. This one right here. I think it's the next one. Thank you. Okay, since this is the case, the applicant is requesting to reduce the required front yard from 40 feet from the access easement to 25 feet from the access easement on the east side of the lot. Another request is to vary the required rear yard from 40 feet to 30 feet on the west side of the lot to accommodate retaining walls and swimming pool. And finally, the applicant is requesting to vary the maximum building height from 30 feet to 34.5 feet to accommodate the unique terrace design of the home that accommodates the steep slopes on the lot. Next slide, please. Based upon what the applicant has submitted staff analysis in this report, staff offers the following observations that the board may consider in its findings. This lot is classified as hillside with very steep slopes and terrain. The only developable part of the lot with existing grading is the north part of the lot. Placing the home in this part of the lot would create the least amount of disturbance and is most proximate to the existing access easement. The lot depth in this part of the property is very narrow, necessitating the need for the varied front yard and rear yards. The applicant has stated that the lot's steep topography make it difficult to maintain the maximum 30-foot building height from natural grade, and thus varying the height to 4.5 feet is justified and would be hardly noticeable by the neighbors. However, you could simply redesign to cut back the roof edge that would allow that proposed height to comply with the ordinance requirement. This concludes staff's presentation, and thank you, members of the board.
Thank you, Martin. Good to see you.
You're welcome.
Are
Thank
there
you.
any questions or of Martin or other staff at this time? All right, go ahead and open the public hearing. Is the applicant, the architect, here in person, no, or online?
Yes, I am.
If you could go ahead and provide your name for the record and go forward with your comments and presentation.
Thank you. My name is Victor City. I'm the applicant and the architect for this project.
Did you have anything that you wanted to add to staff's comments?
Yes, thank you. Thank you for your time in considering this matter. And Martin, thank you for your very clear outlining of the matter. The only thing I'd like to add is that this is in the Clearwaters Hills Homeowners Association, and they have reviewed our plans very carefully. They have found no cause for concern and have provided a kind of contingent approval, and the contingent is, of course, on the outcome of this meeting. I think the front and rear setback matters are fairly clear. The constraints were outlined quite well by Mr. Martelli. Regarding the roof height, yes, we could presumably change the design somewhat to conform to the height limits. However, our main concern, we're talking about 4.5 feet at a very limited part of the home, and that is in some regards due to anomalies of the existing topography. Topography is never straight. It tends to wave here and there depending on the original conditions, and And this is no exception to that. So I would say that the height limit is really more to provide the design with the ample shade that would be needed. And we're not looking at, it's really a matter of trying to provide a design that allows this owner to enjoy their home as much as any other adjacent owner. We could also push the home further back on the property and then thus avoid the height issue. However, by doing so, we feel that we would be destroying more of the natural desert, and so much has already been destroyed on this lot. My client is very interested in doing whatever is possible to remediate the desert or the spill slope. It's I would say an unsightly spill slope as it currently exists, and dating back to the 1960s. It's ugly. No one in the neighborhood likes what it has been since then, and we'd like to be the team that comes in to make the neighborhood more beautiful as a result of this new home. With that, I'll turn it back over to staff and the committee.
Thank you very much. Are there any questions by any of the board members of the applicant? All right, seeing none, is there anyone in the audience who wishes to speak on this? I have no speaker request cards. Do we have anyone online to speak on this item? No. All right, I'll go ahead and close the public hearing. Turn it over to the board members. This is in District 3 for discussion and or a motion. Is this your district? We don't have anyone from District 3. Go ahead. Yeah.
I'm not in District 3, but I'll make the motion. I think the requests from this applicant are reasonable based on where they had to build a house, that it was already graded and probably been an eyesore in the neighborhood for many, many years. So it resolves an issue of an open space that's pretty ugly, and the house had to be placed in a specific area. So it seems reasonable to me to request a height that's going to have minimal impact, as well as the other two front setbacks and rear setbacks. So I would move to approve V 20240123. Let's just call it VA 240008.
Thank you. I have a motion for approval, and I concur.
Wrong number, sorry.
No, it's 24.
Yeah, I was looking at the number I have written
Oh.
above it, which is for the previous case. So this is BA 240008.
Thank you. We have a motion for approval. Do we have a second? Second by member Ward. Rosalie?
Member Ward,
Yes.
Member Clapp,
Yes.
Chairman Loper.
Yes.
Chairman, we have a motion for an approval by a vote of 3-0.
Congratulations and good luck. It looks like it's going to be a beautiful project. Move on. Next item on the agenda, BA 240020, the Garcia residence in District 1.
Thank you, Chairman. Members of the board, case BA 240020 is the Garcia property in Supervisor District 1. The site is located at 13801 East Morgan Drive in the Gilbert area. The site is zoned rural 43 and is just over 1 acre. The request would include the following: a proposed front yard setback of 27 feet where 40 feet is the minimum permitted per the Maricopa County Zoning Ordinance. The request would accommodate a planned 2-car garage addition at the front of the property. Based on what the applicant has submitted, the applicant has failed to demonstrate that there is a peculiar condition facing the property, because no peculiar conditions of the lot exist that prevent the development of the parcel. And the applicant has failed to demonstrate that the strict application of the ordinance to the applicant's property has caused an undue physical hardship that prevents the redevelopment of the home within the property boundaries established building envelope. However, if the board finds that the applicant has proven entitlement to the variance, then the board must state on the record the basis for that determination with findings and conclusions in a motion to grant the relief sought. In such event, staff would offer the following to memorialize the variance approval. Variance approval establishes a 27-foot north setback line for APN 304-43068. Happy to answer questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Daniel. Great presentation. Is there any of the board members who wish do any of the board members have any questions of staff? All right, I'll go ahead and I'll open the public hearing. Is the applicant or the representative here in attendance or online? Okay.
Chairman, I have Armando Garcia online. He needs to unmute on his side. He should be able to speak to us. There you go.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Armando Garcia. Yeah, I am the applicant.
Thank you. Go ahead.
Okay, so yeah, this slide here shows the picture of the front of the house and also the aerial view. When I purchased the house 3 years ago, one of the intents was to remodel the casita that was detached behind the property. My oldest brother was born with cerebral palsy, and he's always lived at home, total care. So he does require 24/7 caregivers. My parents, as they get older, the plan is, was for him to be there next to me. Unfortunately, my dad did pass the beginning of this year, just a month after I had that casita remodeled for them. My mom lives there with him. She also has 24/7 care because she suffered a stroke 2 years ago. So she lost sight of the whole right side of her body, use of it. My brother needs to be fed, bathed, everything. He can't do anything for himself. I mean, mentally, he's very intelligent. However, he doesn't have the physical abilities that most of us do. So when I remodeled the guest house, I wasn't able to provide a garage that would be large enough to bring in a van that has a higher roof. When we transfer him, sometimes there's, times where we have to stand up and help him out or whatever, reposition him or whatever during the drive. So that is one of the main reasons I want to put the garage in. To do it within the boundaries, I would have to do it where that big tree is located, is showing on the northeast corner there, just behind that, the structure of the main house. That would take away my kitchen window and some access that I currently have. Being able to see the guest house, one of my biggest concerns is always, God forbid there's an emergency or something. That's the whole point of me being there next to him. So I didn't really want to do, or it'd be pretty difficult to take up that space. So we looked at that corner, my architect and myself, being it's non-livable and it's impeding about, I think, 13 feet into the front, setback. That's why I'm putting in the variance. Another part of this is I'm a professional electrical engineer. So we design electrical systems with architects and other engineers for commercial, industrial, mostly. A couple, every once in a while we'll do a custom home design where it's required for the engineer of record to be, for an electrical engineer to be the engineer of record. So I did upgrade a lot of the stuff that was done. The casita was not permitted. And that is one of my biggest concerns, even with the main house now. I mean, not anymore with the casita because that's been remodeled completely. But I've seen a few things in the existing house, and having my electrical background, it's kind of scary. So I do want to bring that section of the house up to code, and not just electrical. I mean, we're talking plumbing and mechanical too. When I had the report done before I purchased the home, there were a lot of comments by the inspector regarding code violations. And when they demoed most of the casita, when we were doing that remodel, behind the walls, it was obvious there were a lot of code violations. So I went to go change a ceiling fan in my master bathroom, and it was scary that the guy used the bare ground wire on the Romex as a neutral, and that's a code violation big time. So I'm afraid to open junction boxes in the house, but that's another reason. Like I said, I wanna bring that side of the house up to code, along with this garage addition. So that's pretty much it in a nutshell.
Thank you very much. Are there any questions or comments of the applicant by board members? Seeing none, hang tight. We may have some questions going forward. This is a public hearing. Is there anyone in the audience who wishes to speak on this particular item? Do we have anyone online? No. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and close the public hearing and turn it over to board members for discussion and or motion. This is District 1. That's normally Member Cardin's district. He's not here today, so it's incumbent on one of us to do it. I'm going to make this comment. This exhibit that's in front of us, I don't know if it came from the applicant or staff created or a combination. I like that. Very helpful to see what it would look kind of a before and after. So thank you. Anything from any board members? I'll throw it out
I
there
would say
then.
that
Oh, go ahead, Member Clark.
the garage addition here is a great addition for the house, and it actually in the redesign has improved the looks of the house considerably. So I would agree with you on that. Are you looking for a motion? Is that the
I am.
idea? Okay. Excuse me. Then I move to approve BA 240020, the Garcia residence.
We have a motion for approval by Member Clapp. Do we have a second?
I would like to second that. I too love the redesign.
We have a second by Member Ward. Rosalie?
Member Ward,
Yes.
Member Clapp,
Yes.
Chairman Loper.
Yes.
Chairman, we have a motion for an approval by a vote of 3-0.
Congratulations to the applicant. God bless. You've got your hands full, and I wish we all had family that helped as much as you are. Move on to the next item on the agenda, BA 240021, the Davila property in District 4. Nick?
Thank you, Chairman Loper, members of the board. Case BA 240021 is a request to establish a lot area of 43,418 square feet on the Davila property, where 43,560 square feet is the minimum required in the Rural 43 zoning district. Next slide, please. Oh, we're already there. Okay. The owner is proposing to build a single-family residence on what is currently a vacant lot. Next slide, please. So the subject parcel was created following an unregulated minor land division. Prior to 2004, the site formed a portion of a much larger parcel measuring about 10 acres. In September 2004, a minor land division was recorded from which the subject parcel and 4 other child parcels were established. Next slide, please. Subsequent lot splits have resulted in what are now as many as 10 child parcels of the original parent, although the subject parcel was not subject to further splitting. Each of the 10 child parcels measures approximately 1 acre, although minor surveying differences between them have resulted in some measuring slightly under 1 acre. This is what happened to the subject parcel, which measures 43,418 square feet or 0.9967 acres, 142 square feet short of the minimum required. Next slide, please. So the subject property does not appear to possess any conditions which may be considered peculiar. Typical for most properties in Maricopa County, the parcel is relatively flat, rectangular in shape, and is not encumbered by hillside slopes or areas of floodplain. Additionally, the proposed residence would exceed all required setbacks. If not for the substandard lot area, variance would not be necessary. To that end, since the substandard lot area resulted from an unregulated lot split, the hardship was created in the line of title and was therefore avoidable. Furthermore, the fact that the residence could be developed without any variance to the setback shows that there are no peculiar physical conditions that would hinder development. The need for variance could have been avoided had more care been taken in the splitting of the parent parcel or had the parcel not been split at all. One option available to the owner would be to combine the subject parcel with the parcel to the north, which incidentally also has an area just shy of the minimum required. Next slide, please. If the board finds the applicant has satisfied the statutory test and has stated its findings on the record, the grant of this variance will memorialize the following. Item A, variance approval establishes a 43,418 square foot lot area for APN 503-39023C. At this time, I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Nick. Great overview. Are there any questions of staff by any of the board members? All right, again, thank you very much. Go ahead and open the public hearing. Is the applicant or applicant representative here in attendance? Come on up if you could to the podium, provide your name for the record, and give us your presentation why you're seeking the variance.
Hello, good morning. My name is David Davila, and I'm the owner of this empty lot in Whitman. I bought this lot back in June. I was thinking it was 1 acre because most of the properties on that area are 1 acre. When I started the process of working with the person doing the plans for the permits, he brought to my attention that my lot was about 140 square feet below the 1 acre. So yeah, that is the reason that I'm requesting a variance. I would like to build a single family house on that area. I didn't have an idea of this issue. I didn't work on splitting the lots or anything like that. So yeah, I'm requesting getting permit to build my house there.
All right, thank you very much. Any questions of the applicant from any of the board members? I do, but defer to them first. None. To the applicant, Mr. Davila, thank you again for your presentation. Have you talked to the property owners about on either side of you about acquiring additional property to capture that extra 100 and what is it, 142 square feet?
The owner of the north lot, he's not interested on selling, and also I don't have the means to buy the lot at this moment.
Okay.
I was saving for years to buy this lot. So if I want to buy like the north lot, probably I'm gonna do some saving and a lot of work. But yeah, he mentioned that he's also thinking on building a house on his lot, the north lot. So I don't think he might be interested on selling that to me.
Right, might create a substandard lot for condition for him. And then Nick, is it just various owners? There's no common ownership with Mr. Davila and the adjacent ones to the east or south, right?
I don't believe there's any common ownership at this time.
Okay. All right. Hey, thank you very much. We may have more questions. As I mentioned, this is a public hearing. Is there anyone else in attendance who wishes to speak on this? Not seeing any. Do we have anyone else online? Okay, I'm going to go ahead and close the public hearing and open up this for discussion and or motion. This is in District 4, which is my district. I always appreciate if someone else would make the motion, but I will say that given the constraints on the properties, at least the neighbor to the north that he's spoken with, and probably the unlikelihood he can purchase additional property, I am always in favor of making use of something that is so very close to the minimum lot size and otherwise meets the development standards. I'm in favor personally. But with that, if somebody else would like to make the motion, be more than happy to accept that. Member Ward.
Mr. Chairman, I would be happy to make the motion to approve variance BA 240021, allowing for 43,418 square foot minimum lot area.
Thank you. I have a motion by Member Ward. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Member Clapp. Rosalie?
Member Ward,
Yes.
Member Clapp,
Yes.
Chairman Loper.
Yes.
Chairman, we have a motion for an approval by a vote of 3-0.
Congratulations. Good luck with your home. We do have one more item on the agenda. Mr. Peck.
I just want to say goodbye. As you know, I will be retiring on December 6th, although I'm told next Wednesday, a part-time position is supposed to be approved, but I will not be sitting regularly for the board. Obviously, if there are major issues, and Max Carpinelli of my office, who will be your advisor starting in December, needs it, I'll come in. You're not getting off that easy because I do intend to watch all the hearings and then I can make my comments and no one will hear them. But it's really been a privilege. Greg, we've been working together a long time, even before you got on the board, when you used to be on this side. I've gotten to know members Clapp and members Ward and Carton and the vice chair, and it's been a real pleasure. I guess you don't know this, but I actually was introduced to land use by representing a Board of Adjustment back in New Jersey. So I'm an unusual land use attorney who respects boards of adjustment,
Even us?
sometimes at the expense of planning boards or planning and zoning commissions. So this has been a labor of love, and I've really appreciated all the respect I've always been shown, and wish you all the best as you all go forward.
And likewise, I would hope you'd become a lobbyist and get us a minor land division statutory authority for that.
You know what
authority.
happened last time? The last time there was an attempt by the counties to change the statutory minor land divisions. At the time, it was 3, and the legislature raised it to 5. So the counties will not go anywhere near that
went the
statute
other
ever
way.
again.
And real quick, I know the other 2 protective services guys just left, and you're free to go as well. Thank you so much. Sorry that we made you stand an hour and 45 plus minutes. And I swear one of these will be quick. Sometime, some point. Have a great Thanksgiving. We appreciate what you do for us. Thank you. Wayne, Darren?
If it were up to me, I'd let them sit down.
I would too. I know you can't, but
If it were up to me.
Wayne, there is an award for you.
Be careful when you open it.
Yeah, be careful.
Is it going to explode?
Yeah.
Is that why
Maybe,
you
maybe
sent,
security should
I was
stay.
gonna say, is that why you sent them out? I appreciate
This
it.
is,
Thank you.
it really comes from Darren and Rachel and Tom, the rest, all of the
It's not
staff.
you, I understand, Greg. Should I open it here?
Sure. Yeah, no, my suggestion was something far less.
Alcohol, because, I have to drive home. It's a picture of Greg. Oh. Oh, this is gorgeous. Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Our biggest regret is that Max is not as attractive as you are.
I think Sarah, his wife, would disagree.
In all seriousness, Wayne, thank you. I know that we've not always followed your advice, and we put you in positions to defend that you probably didn't want to, but you've done a great job anyway. And it's very much appreciated. Your input always been appreciated. I hope I see you out there. I hope I get to go to some performance of yours. For those of you who don't know, Wayne does local theater. I think is that what you call it? Or community theater. Thank you. Name escaped
On
me.
the weekend of March 14th and 15th at the Chandler Center for the Arts, I will be playing the Wizard in The Wizard of Oz.
Well, I will have to put that on my calendar. I'd love to see that, and I hope they have a temporary use permit.
It's not in unincorporated Maricopa County.
Darn it. Darn it. No, seriously, thank you for everything that you've done for us. Best of luck. Happy Thanksgiving, everyone. I may or may not be here on December 12th. So I don't know what quorum's going to be like, but maybe let applicants a heads up that may or may not be in case. If I can, I'll be there, but potentially not. All right, with that, I'm going to adjourn. Thank you, everyone. Have a great Thanksgiving.